Known as both the Black Panther and the Nubret Lion, Serge Nubret is among all-time greats, and he was given both nicknames for that very same reason: he is frightening. Nubret was the largest and most trim bodybuilder of his time at the height of his powers, and no one dared to compete against him at his peak. Serge Nubret will go down in history as the first bodybuilder to win 6 world championships in 4 separate bodybuilding federations. His ascent to the top, however, was not without its difficulties. As a bodybuilder, Serge Nubret has had a long and illustrious career that has taken him from his modest beginning on the little French island of Guadeloupe to be recognized, then expelled from the International Federation of Bodybuilding of Fitness (IFBB), and eventually launching and championing a new movement in the sport by establishing the Worldwide Amateur Bodybuilding Association (WABBA). To better understand his excellence and to discover how we may apply his example to attain our own objectives, we go into the depth of his life, training, diet, and philosophical beliefs. The following is Serge Nubret's story. Bodybuilding is more than simply lifting weights and doing physical training to improve your appearance. It's about bringing your mind, body, and soul together in harmony so that everything, not just your muscles, may flourish. Biography. Early years and the raison d'être. Serge was born and raised on Guadeloupe, a tiny French Caribbean island where he spent his formative years. Serge and his family, however, relocated to France in 1950 when Serge was 12 years old in order to pursue Serge's education and development as future bodybuilder. This was the point at which everything began to fall into place. At the age of 14, Nubret found his natural athletic ability and began winning school competitions. He soon understood that he might see himself in the sports world in the future. With an aim of becoming a world championship bodybuilder, Serge ended his studies in 1958 at the age of 20. His first bodybuilding competition, Mr. Guadeloupe, took place in the same year, but he had bigger plans for the future: World Championship and the IFBB. From 1960 onwards, Nubret saw a rapid acceleration of events. 2 years of practice, a fantastic body, and a boundless amount of desire had prepared him for this moment. It really was time to step up to a higher level. The same year, he was admitted into the IFBB and was immediately dubbed world's most muscular man after just a few months of membership. From there, his career took off, landing him several actor parts in multiple feature films. IFBB member Serge Nubret wasn't just a devout member by 1970, but he was also the federation's chief of appreciation in France and Europe. That was until Nubret decided that he didn't like the direction the organization was taking in 1975. The 1975 Olympia Controversy. Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger's last challenge would be the 1975 Olympia, and Serge Nubret would be his greatest adversary. During that particular period, he was widely regarded as being larger, stronger, and more trimmer than anybody else in his field, which concerned the judges. It was said that they were prepared to go to any length to ensure that Arnold won his last show. Nubret was disqualified from participating in the tournament 2 weeks before it began. The explanation given by the judges was that he had been in an explicit film that had been deemed inappropriate by the federation. Nubret was devastated by the news, and he quit exercising almost immediately to avoid the enormous pressure he was placing on his body as a result of being in that state. That is, till the night just before competition, when the federation reviewed his case and granted him permission to participate again, by which time Serge had already dropped 14 pounds of muscle in preparation. Serge managed to emerge in second place, defeating Arnold's main challenger, Lou Ferrigno, which gave Arnold an obvious edge and sealed his win in the tournament. Serge's side of pumping iron. Nubret is depicted as a last-minute contestant in the iconic bodybuilding film Pumping Iron, but in an interview, Nubret claims that he was not a last-minute contestant at all. When they announced the very last-second contestant Serge Nubret, everyone knew I had been planning to compete in South Africa for a really long time, and what ended up happening when I arrived was very well documented. My appearance in the film was offered at 200 by the camera team, who had been to Paris 4 weeks before. I refused to consent to be shot for $200, which is why I'm just a minor character in the film, appearing solely in the competition segment. It certainly casts a new light on the events that occurred. Life after IFBB and the formation of WABBA. Serge was dissatisfied with the International Federation of Bodybuilders, IFBB, and he resigned from his position to become the president of another bodybuilding organization, the World Amateur Bodybuilding Association, or WABBA, with the goal of ensuring the competing athletes received the support they needed on a consistent basis. Following his boycott of the International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness, IFBB, Nubret went on to win many world titles in the NABBA and WABBA bodybuilding federations. Even after retiring from the circuits in 1985, he continued to compete for another 25 years. Following the conclusion of his professional career, Serge opened and operated his own gyms in Paris, where he also published his autobiography in 2006. He is the only bodybuilder in history to have won 6 world championships in 4 separate bodybuilding federations. Sergio was a highly active member of bodybuilding forums right up to the time of his dying. On top of that, he was constantly acceptable for nutrition and training ideas, providing guidance to his supporters in 3 different languages over 15 separate websites. My training was built on concentration, and when you are focused, it is hard to cheat. Training. Serge was well known for his rigorous and one-of-a-kind training methods. There was only one way and there was only one method: repetitions. Reps, repetitions, and more reps. Even though he had a massive, thick frame, Nubret didn't lift heavy. Instead, he discovered that his body reacted best to modest weight over a lengthy period of repetitions and sets. When questioned about his training methods, Nubret said that he used 30, 40, or even 50 repetitions for several body parts, apart from just 16 sets for arms, with each set consisting of 12 to 20 repetitions and only 30 seconds break between each. It was essential to keep the workouts going as long as possible, with some sessions extending up to 5 hours. As a result of his ab training, Nubret has one of the slimmest waistlines in the profession, and he credited to doing 2,000 sit-ups every morning for 1 hour straight. However, it is not the diet but rather the workout, or a combination of the two, that contributes to your overall slim and vascular look. Nutrition. Serge was a carnivore when it comes to eating during tournaments. Serge could consume up to 6 pounds of red meat per day while training for a competition. Since he resided on an island in the French Caribbean, Nubret had never heard of or used vitamins until he stumbled upon them. Anabolic performance boosters are no different. Before his first international tournament in Montreal, Nubret survived only on Caribbean cuisine throughout his first training period. Idols and influences. Serge has always said that the actor/bodybuilder Steve Reeves was his greatest motivation in the industry. Nubret began bodybuilding as a result of viewing many of the actor's films and realizing it was the appearance he wanted to achieve. The most essential thing to get a flawless physique is to get a perfect form. It's hard to paint a picture with a wide brush. What we can learn from Serge Nubret. Serge, maybe more than anybody else, pushed himself to the limits of the bodybuilding lifestyle. He was a firm believer in pushing yourself as much as you possibly could rather than going easy on yourself. Instead of concentrating on your weight, you should concentrate on your own well-being. Think on your technique rather than being scared or under pressure to do the biggest lift possible at the gym. Are you using your muscles to their fullest potential? And this is true not just for training, but also how you conduct yourself in everyday life. Whatever Serge accomplished, he was not concerned with the magnitude of his accomplishment, but rather with the fact that it was accomplished correctly. It was a large and difficult undertaking to win and operate the International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness, IFBB, but as soon as compromises were made and the federation's form began to weaken, Serge started from the beginning and formed WABBA, making certain that every step was done to absolute perfection. Serge showed us that no matter how large or little a work is, it should always be completed to the best of one's abilities. As soon as you begin to doubt your ability to perform at peak levels, it's time to step back and assess the situation.